Hello friends, very good morning to all of you. So today we are going to discuss PF65, that is on the OAuth client authentication. So we haven't discussed on the mutual TLS and the private key jot, and we haven't used in any of the apps. So we'll just try to understand what those authentication method in the OAuth giving any benefit in terms of securing the things, or like how they're useful also. So we'll just try to go through and understand, and if required, we can use also in any of our application. So yeah, let's begin. Discuss RFC 6749 section 2.3 OAuth 2.0 client authentication. So confidential clients authenticate when making requests to the OAuth authorization server. The core OAuth 2.0 specification defines the client password, the client authentication type, which defines the client secret parameter as well as the method of including the client secret in the HTTP authorization header. And there are three most common forms of client authentication: client secret, mutual TLS, private key jot. So client secret we have used. If you see that in our examples we have taken in the previous, we already used this authentication method, but we haven't used the mutual TLS and private key jot. So we'll try to understand these two also. What are these and how it basically they works, right? And there is a note here also mentioned that PKC is not a form of client authentication. Proof key for code exchange is not a form of client authentication and is not an alternative to client authentication. There is a note that PKC is not a form of client authentication and it is not an alternative to client authentication. Application using client authentication should also use PKC, but PKC is not a form of client authentication. That's a note here. Now let's quickly have a look on this three, like client secret, mutual TLS, and the private key jot. So let me go to my Word file. I just prepare this. Let me make it little big. Yeah. So client secret RFC 6749 section 231. What it says? So we have the HTTP basic authentication. Clients that have a client password can use HTTP basic authentication to authenticate themselves. That this means they will send a username and password to the server for verification, and basically the client identifier and the password are encoded using a specific format which is called application, or www form URL encoded. This is just a way of transforming the information into a format that can be safely sent over the internet. So we have already used this basic authentication, so we know this client secret based authentication. And the authorization server requirement: the server receiving the authentication request must support the HTTP basic authentication scheme to verify the client's identity. Here we have the example. The sample authorization header might look like this. This is just an example of the encoded client identifier and the password. That's the client ID and the secret. The alternative authentication method is, you can, instead of basic authentication, HTTP basic authentication, the client can send the client ID and the client secret directly in the request body. That is also one of way, but yeah, this is not recommended unless the client cannot use the basic authentication method, because it is less secure and it could potentially expose the credentials in ways basic authentication doesn't. Okay, then we have the authorization server must enforce transport layer security. We already discussed these things in our vulnerability section, if you remember, right? So the authorization server must enforce TLS, a security protocol, when receiving these authentication requests to protect the credentials. The server also need to be protected against brute force attacks, where attackers try multiple passwords to guess the correct one. Yeah, this is about we have some idea for this, right? Let's quickly discuss on the mutual TLS and the private key jot, because we haven't used this and also we haven't seen this in our previous examples. So RFC 8705 mutual TLS client authentication and certificate bound access tokens. So what is MTLS? The question first. So MTL stands for Mutual Transport Layer Security. It's a form of client authentication where both the client and the server authenticate each other. So in this case, both are trying to authenticate themselves with each other. So in typical SSL or TLS, only the server proves its identity to the client via server certificate. In general, what we have seen. With MTLS, with mutual TLS, both the client and server authenticate each other by using certificates. The client has to prove its identity by presenting a client certificate and the server verifies it. So how does MTLS work with OAuth 2.0? So OAuth 2.0 is a framework for granting access to resources without sharing passwords. That we already know. It uses BRL token to give client access to resources. Now in the case of MTLS, it's an extension of OAuth 2.0, meaning it works together with OAuth 2.0 to improve security by adding an additional authentication layer. And what is that layer? So instead of just sending a bearer token to authenticate, MTLS requires the client application to authenticate itself by presenting a valid client certificate. This helps to ensure that the application who it says, not just anyone with a valid token. So here, like, client also has to authenticate itself by presenting a valid client certificate, right? And it helps to ensure that the application is who it says. It's not anyone with a valid token can come and just go for that action. Okay. Then binding tokens to certificates. So MTLS also binds the access token to the client certificate. That means that the token is tied to a specific client, that is one holding the certificate. So let's say even if someone else gets hold of the token, that maybe some way that hacker can get access to your token, they won't be able to use it unless they also have the correct client certificate. This adds another layer of security because the access token alone is not enough to access the resource. So in the vulnerability section, if you remember, we already discussed about this, the token hijacking, right? But in this case, if you use the mutual TLS, so in this case, if somehow the access token is like hijacked, it will not be like attacker will not be able to do anything with that, right? Because it's tied to the as mentioned, right? As it is mentioned, right? It's tied to a specific client, the one holding the certificate, and attacker will not able to get that certificate, right? So yeah, that is one way. You are just adding an additional security layer with the bearer token by binding the token to the certificate. One of the primary motivation for MTLS is to improve the security of bearer tokens. Typically, bearer tokens can be misused if they are intercepted because anyone who possesses the token can use it to access resources. Whereas like MTLS makes this much harder because in addition to the token, the application must also prove its identity using the client certificate. This means that application is authenticated and the server can trust that request is from the right source. Okay, so let's summarize this part what we have seen. So MTLS is a security technique that requires both the client and the server to authenticate each other using certificates. And this is just an extension of OAuth 2.0. It binds access token to the client certificate, making the token more secure and ensuring that only the legitimate client can use it. It's not anyone can get the token they can use. No, it's because it's bind to some token, some certificate, client certificate, and certificate is with the receiver only, right? With the server, basically, I'll say. It improves the security of OAuth 2.0 by preventing misuse of token, even if they are intercepted or stolen. That's the concept of binding the access token to the client certificate. Okay, so these are the advantages, like here, by if you are using the MTLS. We are not using any in any of our example, but yeah, I'll just try to see if I can just implement MTLS in PingFederate, and we can see some example for this. Okay. Then we have another private key jot. So private key jot method is another form of another way for clients to authenticate themselves when interacting with authorization servers in protocols like OAuth 2.0. So these all are client authentication, like client secret, mutual TLS, and private key jot. So the private key jot is another like way for the clients to authenticate. So what is private key jot, and how does private key jot work? So JSON Web Token is a way of securely transmitting information between parties in the form of compact URL safe token. So private key jot means that the client creates and signs the JSON Web Token using its own private key, and the private key is a part of cryptographic key pair. So the private key is kept secret by the client, and a matching public key can be shared with other for verification. That means the client just sign that JWT with the private key and share that public key to the other party, right? You can say to the authorization server. Okay. Now, how does this private key jot work? So first, in this case, the client first creates a JSON Web Token that contains some details, let's say like identity and any claims or data needed. Then it basically signs this JSON Web Token with its private key. The signature proves that the JWT was indeed created by the client and has not been tampered with, because only the client has the private key. Now this signed JSON Web Token is sent to the authorization server for authentication. That means the client is sending that JWT right, with signing with the private key, and then sending that information to the authorization server for authentication. The server can verify the JOT by checking the signature using the client's public key, because the authorization server have already the client's public key, right? We're using the URL, or maybe client already said. So using that, it can just verify that the JOT by checking the signature. Where is JOT sent? So even though this authentication method is called private key JOT, the JOT is not directly sent in the request body as a typical JOT. Instead, it's sent in a parameter called client underscore session. That means it's not like directly we're sending the body as a typical JOT, but we have seen in normal. Instead, that how it is sent, it's called sent in the some parameter called as a client underscore assertion. This means that in the context of OAuth, when the client makes a request to the authorization server, it sends the JOT as a part of the request, specifically in the client underscore assertion field. That means the client, when just signing the token and sending that to the authorization server, it's not sent typically like how we see in the body, right? It just sent in the parameter called client underscore assertion field and sent to the authorization server, right? And then authorization server will just have the client's public key. Using that, it verifies the signature. What is the relation with RFC? So the method of private key JOT is described in RFC 7521, that is assertion framework for OAuth, and RFC 7523, that is JOT profile for client authentication. Okay. OpenID Connect and FAPI 2.0, that is financial grade API security, also reference these RFCs part of their security guidelines. These protocols and security profiles help to define best practices for using JOT securely in the client server authentication. Now we have the security concerns. By using a private key to sign the JOT, this method ensures that the client is securely proving its identity without transmitting sensitive information like a password. Only the client holding the private key can sign the JOT correctly, making it very difficult for an attacker to impersonate the client even if they intercept the JOT. JOT intercept is fine, but how they can just sign that, because the private key is only held by the client. Okay, so in summary, if we can say that private key JOT is a way for a client to authenticate with a server, creating a JOT and signing it with a private key. The method is used in the OAuth2.0 and related protocols to enhance the security, as it ensures that the client who it claims to be without sending sensitive information like password. The signed JSON web token is sent in the client underscore assertion parameter in the request, and it is described in the RFC these sections using security protocol profiles like OpenID and FAPI 2.0. So you can see, like, we just talked about three things, like client secret based authentication, the mutual TLS, the private key JOT. So client secret is a basic, right, what we just already used in our examples. But MTLS and this private key JOT, you see, it's just giving an additional layer of security. You can see for MTLS is also right, that you have like the extra layer of validation, right? So the token is bind to some client certificate. So it's not like if there is a if our access token is hijacked, in that case also the attacker will not able to do anything with that, because that token is bind to some client certificate which is only holding with the application or with the client, you can say. So they can only able to use that, right? And like, yeah, for private key JOT also we have like additional layer of the basically like the signed JOT is like sent to the authorization server for authentication, right? So yeah, so like, yeah, signing with the private key. So yeah, it's again like they're just adding some additional layer of security in that communication. So again here also like yeah, private key JOT is also, you can say, a way for client authenticate with server by creating a JOT and signing it with a private key, and then it will just send to the authorization server for authentication. And when they will send, it will just send in the parameter. JOT will not send in the typical like what we see in the general. It will just send in the parameter called client underscore assertion, right? And then the authorization server has already the public key of the client. So based on that, it will just verify the signature and then perform the authentication thing. And for mutual TLS also we have the binding of the token is very important here, to the client certificate. So it will just become like harder now to use the token, like if it is intercepted or hijacked. So yeah, these two is just adding additional layer of security. And to better understand, we definitely need to just do some example using these two client authentication. We have already covered client secret, but we haven't covered this MTLS and private key JOT. So we need to see that if I can. I'll just try if I can cover the few example on this too to understand more. Like we can just configure in PingFederate and then we can try that. Okay. So if I can just show you, I think it's, let me go quickly to, so in the PingFed, if you can go to the auth clients, you can able to see that. Yeah, let's click on add client. So you can see you have the method here, right? Client secret jot, client TLS certificate, private key jot. So right now what we talked about in this session, like about the client secret, I think we already used and you know about that. So but we talked about this also, and then we talked about the client TLS and the private key jot, right? So this is the mutual TLS part, and this is like private key jot what we discussed right now. So if you click on this client TLS certificate, you can see it will just ask you like to define the issuer, right, and then the subject DN. So basically, you just need to ask the application to, yeah, provide the certificate. Based on that, you just need to configure this. And for the private key jot, yeah, you need to again add the application like public key. Yeah, this is a signing algorithm, and then replay prevention. We can use this algorithm, and then yeah, we can use one like for client TLS and the private key jot. See, if you can go to auth, and if you just go to that client, you can able to see the authentication method, right? So client secret we already used, client secret dot we haven't used, and we discussed right now about the client TLS certificate, that is mutual one, and then we just talked about the private key jot. So yeah, you can just we can just try to take some example using these two, and we see how this works. But yeah, we just need to get the application certificate for client TLS, and private key jot also like authenticates in a similar way, like where like yeah like we have the public key of the client, and we can just verify their signature. And yeah, in this case, like the client will send the jot also in the client underscore session parameter, not like directly in the in general what we see. Okay, so we'll just try to take some example and just we can. But yeah, in general, right now we have covered the PKC, and PKC is not a form of client authentication, like we already discussed that. But yeah, any application can use that PKC. It's not like yeah, and client secret we already covered. Okay, so I hope you understand this part. If you have any question, please put in the comment section. We can discuss, and I'll just try if I can take some example on this too. Okay, thank you.